gentlemen, I want to show you something. This right here is comics history. All this. This can, you don't know how much is in here. You know how much is in this bottle. This bottle is what I researched this summer and the months after this summer, all the way up until the moment I just shot this. This bottle is this history that I know. This glass is a history I'm giving to you. So I want you to understand something. What I'm giving to you is not nearly as much as what I know, and which is not nearly as much as what is in this. And you don't know what's in this, and you don't know how much is in this. But I'm giving you this, in hoping that you'll find these two, and eventually you'll find out where all this came from, because this right here didn't come from nowhere. There's some factory out there that makes this, and it's making it tons and tons by volumes far greater than I can think of. And I want you to find that factory in the hopes that you'll be able to give it this history to somebody else. Cheers. I'd like to talk about the end of comics. The end of comics has not happened yet. The end of comics probably won't happen. Comics is an idea. Comics industry, though, however, is not an idea. It's a group of people. It's people competing against each other, people working against each other, people working with each other, people helping each other out so much that you realize that it's like a well-organized machine that skips a beat. The comics industry will not die so easily. People have been saying it's going to be dead for years. In the 1960s, in the late 1960s, when after record-breaking numbers, comics sales dropped. It's still not dead. In the 1970s, when Marvel went through the ringer and sales were down and DC imploded, it didn't die. 1980s, like 1990s. 1990s, if that didn't kill it, nothing will. 2000s, like digital, is not going to kill Dead Tree Comics. Video games are not going to kill Dead Tree Comics, or comics in general. We survived Congress, people. We survived Congress. We survived crazy parents. We survived everything. We've survived infancy. Comics is not going to die. Okay, I should really be thanking people right now. Off the top of my head, I would like to thank Mark Seyfert. I would like to thank Rich Johnston. I would like to thank Guy Dorian. I'd like to thank Jim Shooter. I'd like to thank Chuck Rosansky. I'd like to thank Bill Finger, Garner Fox, Bob Kane, Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster, Jack Leibowitz, Harry Donenfeld, Paul Samplaner. I'd like to thank Martin Goodman, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. I'd like to thank anyone who's ever made a comic. I'd like to thank my parents. I'd like to thank my friends. I would like to thank the people that helped me film this. I'd like to thank Kate Billard and Brandon Uzzino. I'd like to thank John Lewis. I'd like to thank Matt Mendres. I'd like to thank anyone who's made a comic. I'd like to thank Warren Ellis for giving me something to talk about. I'd like to thank Mark Miller. I'd like to thank anyone who talked to me on bleedingcool.com. I'd like to thank anyone who talked to me at Newsarama. I'd like to thank anyone who talked to me. I'd like to thank anyone who posted a website or article that I can't even list the number of websites that helped me out with this project. I'd like to thank Mike Tamaris. I'd like to thank just so many people that led me to want to do this project. I hope to continue this project indefinitely. Like, this is the most fun I've ever had on a school project. So, thanks, folks. You know, you bastards really aren't that funny. Lights! 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 Oh, son of a... Good night, folks. See you in season 2.